Hey guys, before the video starts, if you enjoyed this episode and want to support my channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. Patrons not only get a shout out in my videos, but will also get cool access to patron exclusive content, such as animation updates, alternate endings, sneak peeks, polls that'll determine what future projects will happen, even early access to new episodes of Fan War an entire week before they're released to the public, and of course knowledge regarding episodes long before they enter production. Now that's a deal worth fighting for. The link is down in the description below for those who want to join. But for now, enjoy the show.
In every great team among the strategic leaders and brave brutes, there's always that one attention-grabbing goofball that treats everything like a fun time.
But when it comes to these two fierce warriors, despite their childish nature, they have not only kept up with their more, competent comrades, but also faced every situation like a fun night out.
But when these two franchise rivals meet in the arena, only one goofball will live to party another day. Rash, the totally awesome show-off of the Battletoads.
And Michelangelo, the all-original party dude of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, for this battle, to keep with the theme of the fight, we'll look at Michelangelo from the original 1980s cartoon and its related media. And the same will also be done for Rash.
He's one fish mob and I'm three crab mob. And it's our job to see who would win a fatal conflict. Let's face it, out there, everywhere, someone is always looking for something. Fame, fortune, you name it. But for the high school student David, all he wanted was attention.
Known for being a class clown, David Shar was your typical 90s kid. He enjoyed rock music, video games, kung fu, superheroes, and so on and so forth. But even though he definitely grabbed people's attention, he wanted all the attention he could get. So it was no surprise that he, along with his two friends, Morgan and George, set out to make one of, if not the hardest video game in human history.
And they succeeded in doing that. And they called this game Battletoads. A game where you can play as anthropomorphic toads to defeat an evil dark queen and save the universe. And considering its legacy in real life, I'd say David and company succeeded.
Except when they turned the game on, they were sucked into it, sending them into the Toad Arena to battle the Dark Queen herself, transforming them into the Battletoads themselves. And this would happen every single time the game was turned on.
Yeah, so? I still say the attention grabber got what he wanted. He could now save the entire universe in the game for all to see. And with new bodies in a new world, they had to take new names. While Morgan became known as Zitz and George became known as Pimple, David became known as the cool dude Rash. And with his new name and new amphibian superpowers, he and his friends would bravely traverse each new challenge with the simple goal of surviving one of the hardest video games ever made.
And yes, because of this origin story, the game's legendary difficulty is canon.
And you can bet all those rounds in video game land quickly made Rash a seasoned warrior. Rash is strong enough to toss large metal crates, use large chunks of debris as clubs, and beat the ever-loving shit out of enemies several times his own size like they're nothing.
And like his fellow Toads, he's basically a walking tank, able to take devastating blows, survive vicious beatings, and even survive attacks from the Dark Queen herself and keep going like nothing happened. And to give you an idea on just how powerful the Dark Queen is, thanks to these guys, we now know her vortex attack should exert at least around 15,000 kilotons of force. Enough to destroy an entire town.
That may be impressive and all, but you'll need to land that attack on Rash first. He's the fastest of the three Toads, able to plow through hordes of enemies without tiring, jump large gaps, react to lasers, and can keep up with the Dark Queen herself, who once flew out of a planet's atmosphere in 10 seconds, far exceeding the speed of light.
And all of that's only further enhanced by his karate skills, allowing him to fight with the skill needed to pull off such a feat.
That, and his powers of shape-shifting, this guy can turn any part of his body into any weapon he wants. Giant fists, spiked boots, ram horns, axes, flails, you name it. He can even turn into a near indestructible weight for added defense or to attack like a wrecking ball.
But when he needs to cross great distances, he can always hop onto his speeder bike, a hovercraft that can be called on a whim to ram into enemies or travel at great speeds. And given how many times he is likely to crash, it appears he has plenty of replacements too.
Can you really blame him if he likes wrecking his stuff all the time? He's not only considered the best fighter out of all the Battletoads thanks to having actual skills in fighting, but successfully bested all the Battletoad arenas, thwarted the evil Dark Queen with his teammates multiple times, and once even went to the world of Killer Instinct to battle ghosts, cyborgs, demigods, actual gods, and whatever the hell else the Killer Instinct tournament can bring just because he was bored. It's like nothing can stop this guy.
Except for the fact that he's a cocky show-off. His flamboyant personality can get him into trouble, he lacks any truly good defense outside of his shapeshifting, and he really prefers to run into battle without any real plan or strategy.
Hey, this Toad along with his buddies don't need any fancy planning. I think he's already proven all he needs is a giant fist, a baddie to punch, and a good reason to do so.
These cameos are killing me!
Supreme victory!
It was the year 1987, and for most of the planet, it was relatively no different than any other year.
Except for New York. A crime wave struck so large that no one had ever seen one like it before.
This was the Foot Clan, an ancient, dangerous clan of ninja who took over the New York streets and quickly made themselves top dog of the criminal underworld. No one could hope to challenge them.
But for every yang, there is a yin, and eventually 4 heroes stepped up to challenge the Foot Clan. 4 walking, talking Ninja Turtles.
And among these 4 unlikely heroes was the wisecracking goofball, Michelangelo. But he wasn't always like this. He and his brothers were once ordinary turtles that got lost in the New York sewer system, where they were found by a former member of the Foot Clan, Hamato Yoshi. But one day, while doing what turtles do, they were all exposed to a mysterious ooze that turned Hamato into a rat and the turtles into humanoids. Now capable of being much more than just mere pets, Hamato, now going by the name of Splinter, trained Michelangelo and his brothers in the art of ninjutsu to become the city's greatest defenders and to stop the evil of the Foot Clan once and for all.
But while his brothers prefer actual team roles, like leading the team or doing machines, Michelangelo prefers to simply have fun, treating everything like a game.
As the youngest of the 4 brothers, Michelangelo enjoys all the things you could expect a 90s kid to enjoy. Skateboarding, monster movies, partying, surfing, comic books, and pizza. Lots and lots of pizza.
He's addicted, Fish Mom. Quit trying to sugarcoat it. But despite his outer quirkiness, Michelangelo is still just as capable at fighting as his brothers are. He's strong enough to kick down metal doors, send larger opponents flying, and knock away boulders. And he's tough enough to be thrown through stone walls, and even being crushed under the very thing he loves. All that poor pizza dough.
He was once even crushed under intense gravity with no ill effects. And note, this increased gravity could bend the metal street lamps around him. And when he's not struggling against gravitational forces, he's one of the more agile members of the Turtles, able to outrun polar bears and deflect laser beams, which does require him to at least move around the speed of light to achieve.
And despite his outward appearance, Mikey has had the occasional moment of intelligence, like the time he took control of Krang's body with his game console, tricking bullheaded opponents to charge mindlessly into traps, using disguises, or, as he does more often, use the environment he's in to his advantage. He even knows how to pilot different kinds of vehicles. I don't know where that was covered in Splinter's training regimen, but sign me up!
As he was trained his whole life in the art of ninjutsu, Mikey is able to wield various weapons of different make and style, an expert at stealth and infiltration, skilled in direct hand-to-hand combat, and is able to fight on par with other skilled fighters.
They even received training from the 2012 incarnation of the Turtles to help them fight better. But this turtle doesn't just prefer using his fists or whatever trash he finds on the ground, he carries a pair of nunchucks! Weapons that he spins around to strike with enough force to destroy robots, disarm opponents, or even let him float like a helicopter! What is this?
But when the censorship deemed Mikey's nunchucks too violent for a children's show, they gave him a grappling hook instead, which he uses to latch onto ledges or swing from like an urban Tarzan.
Wait, the giant swords designed to slice through people and the two big murder forks are okay, but not two pieces of wood on a chain? Are you kidding me?
The 1990s, everyone, where if it wasn't gross out or extreme sports, it was heavy censorship.
But there's one thing that no amount of censorship can steal from Mikey. His cheapskate. This rocket-powered skateboard allows him to travel long distances faster, be used like a skateboard, and even comes with a flashlight to navigate dark tunnels. It looks like Mikey's pretty well prepared for just about anything.
Except for one disturbing truth, so hidden, not even the smartest of his brothers realized it until much later. All four turtles were still mutating.
What, you mean as in like he was getting bigger or something?
No, it's more like the ooze that transformed him was now taking its next step. When Mikey's in danger, he will transform into a hideous brute of near unrivaled power.
But despite the clear cosmetic downgrade, this bulkier super turtle may not be nimble or quick like his normal form, but it does make up for this by transforming him into a walking tank. He is fireproof, laserproof, able to lift and throw cars, and snap steel girders with his bare hand. He even comes pre-equipped with claws perfect for ripping his enemies a new one. It makes me wonder why he doesn't take this form as often.
Well, that's just it. If any of his brothers enter this form, the transformation can cause them to become very aggressive, to the point they're even willing to attack their own allies and each other. And the next transformation does have a history of wearing off at completely random times. In fact, this next step in their mutation posed such a risk of getting out of hand, they had to cure themselves of this transformation just to prevent such an outcome.
So he might have turned into a fire-breathing murder monster. So what? It's not like this is the weirdest thing Mikey's ever had to face. He's defeated all kinds of weird and wacky mutants, robots, warriors, and aliens on several occasions. He's rescued his brothers several times, traveled through time to retrieve the stolen Statue of Liberty, and is said to be the reincarnation of a great pharaoh.
That's nothing. He once teamed up with other versions of himself to save the TMNT multiverse, and once even teamed up with other 80s cartoon characters just to help a kid overcome his drug addiction.
You know, out of all the things we've just discussed in this episode, the fact he teamed up with Winnie the Pooh, Alf, Garfield, and the Muppet Babies just to make a point to some random kid is probably the weirdest thing we've discussed all day. But truth be told, what else would I expect from such a crazy party dude? By the way it looks, he can basically do anything.
Except that laid-back nature of his has also made him a liability at times. He can be clumsy, slow to recognize danger, tends to rush into battle without thinking things through, and most of the time, despite his mastery of ninjutsu, he will usually just throw whatever he can find at his enemies, regardless of what it is.
Hey, I think Mikey's allowed to have a few flubs here and there. This dude's already proven to be so good at what he does, he eventually became Splinter's equal. So watch out for when this new ninjutsu master hears of a good old-fashioned throwdown happening in downtown. He'll always be there to bring life to the party.
Pizza trophy? Unlocked. Get over here.
Alright, the combatants are set. This battle shall have no prep time, no outside help, or home field advantage.
It is time to see who would win a fatal conflict!
Buckle up! I'm crashing this party! Pow!
Relax, dude.
Oh yeah!
No pizza for you, bro. Pizza time.
Fatality.
Yes! That was totally awesome! But despite outer appearances, this fight was actually really close.
Indeed it was. This battle was easily one of the closest fights in fan war history. Both were pretty equally experienced in terms of combat knowledge, and both had counters for the other. Rash was more durable, but Mikey was more resilient. Rash was far more dangerous in close quarters, but Mikey could use his cunning and ninjutsu training to his advantage. The speeder bike and cheapskate could keep up with the other, and so on and so forth. However, there were a few things that tipped this into Rash's favor.
Rash did hold a slight strength advantage, having defeated far larger enemies and shown far more impressive feats of physical might in the past. And he did ultimately hold the speed advantage thanks to his battles with the faster-than-light Dark Queen.
And while Mikey may have had a larger arsenal to use, one that'd certainly keep Rash guessing, that's all it could really do. Not only could Rash's arsenal and abilities outdo or counter most of Mikey's, but most of what Mikey could do couldn't truly hurt Rash.
Yeah, if Rash can take beatings from hordes of enemies and shrug it off like it's nothing, I think it's obvious two completely normal nunchucks wouldn't do any better.
And while Mikey's mutated form could certainly give Rash a run for his money, or his flies in this case, there were a few problems that prevented this from giving Mikey the surefire win. Not only could Rash match this form with his own strength, no super forms needed, but Mikey's mutated form is only temporary and does have a history of wearing off at the worst possible times. Add to that Mikey's tendency of rushing into battles against someone who specializes in doing just that, but with unpredictable shape-shifting powers, you got yourself a pretty clear-cut winner.
In the end, Michelangelo may have been a more accomplished fighter that could make the battle very tedious for his opponent, but with his slightly better strength, greater speed, more effective arsenal, and a lot more ways to end the fight, Rash was basically prepared for a fight like this. I guess you could say Michelangelo finally learned the true meaning of shell-shocked.
The winner is Rash. Next time on Fan War.